Now, I did say at the beginning of the week that the National Farmers Union of the UK was having their annual conference this week, and that we're at least going to hear, shall we say, lots of interesting things coming out of the conference. However, of course, um, other, shall we say, a lot more important events have certainly cropped up, which have probably stopped these things becoming news in the UK. But I feel that this does deserve an airing. I feel that this is important, an issue to cover. Like I say, just because obviously things are going on in Ukraine doesn't necessarily mean that things aren't going on here in the UK. And of course, I do understand, of course, the importance of things going on in Ukraine. Don't worry, I am covering it. But of course, that is a war situation. Things are very fluid. Things could change from hour to hour. When you report something 1 hour, it could be completely changed or completely different from the reporting that comes through an hour later. So you'll have to forgive me if I'm not fully 100% covering the situation like every single day. That is the reason why. Things are so fluid and constantly in motion, it's hard to really pin things down or accurately report things what are going on at that moment in time because of the fluidity of the situation. However, of course, like I say, we will be certainly keep an eye on things over there. But of course, back over to here. And of course, the issue of the farmers here in the UK, especially now in the post-Brexit world that they find themselves in, is going to be incredibly, incredibly hard. And one of the things that would have almost certainly been picked up in the news this week is how hard the leader of the NUF has gone after the government in her opening speech to the conference. So let's find out what she had to say and how damning it really is of the UK government. So before we do go diving into that, please do remember to hit the like, share, and subscribe button if you are new to the channel. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much to those watching and supporting the channel that way. So on with the story. So this comes to us from The Guardian with the title of Completely Contradictory. The NUF leader attacks UK farming policy. And when the NUF is attacking your farming policy, that's pretty serious. The government has shown a total lack of understanding how food production works, introduced completely contradictory policies on farming, and risks repeatedly running into crises. Through a lack of a post-Brexit plan for UK farming, the leading representative of British farmers will say today, which she said. Minette Batters, the president of the National Farmers Union, will make a scathing attack on ministers' failures, and unrepentantly, in recent memory, is it a ferocity from a farming leader. Her withering assault of the government's actions reflects the widespread anger and alarm among many sectors of the UK farming and food producing industries, one of the country's biggest manufacturing industries and employers. Farms have suffered from the plummeting exports and reams of now new red tape owing to Brexit, staff shortages as the EU seasonal workers have left, and of course, the prospects of floods of cheap, low quality imports after the post-Brexit trade deals, one we've already seen with Australia. Batters also highlighted the fate of the pig industry, which is facing a near collapse under the rising staff shortages of it, and warned that similar disasters will hit other branches of farming unless the government acts. She will tell the NUF conference in Birmingham, we need a plan that preempts these crises rather than repeatedly runs into them. This country needs a strategy and a clear vision for what we expect for British farming. We have their completely contradictory government policies, and it's raising the bar for environmental standards at home, but pursuing trade deals which support lower standards overseas. It is claiming to value domestic food production, but it is making it difficult to find for workers to even harvest or process it. It is stating that there are many opportunities for British food, but it is failing to actually prioritize the results open to those new markets. She will call for certainty commitment and consistency in the government policy, and to point to the success of the British farmers in raising animal welfare and food production standards and improving the environment and pushing to reach net zero greenhouse gas emissions. But in the excerpts from her speech distributed on Monday night, she pulled few punches in criticizing the ministers for their lack of planning and failure to respond to the recent problems in farming. Pig producers are looking after 200,000 pigs that should have been sent to the slaughter, but cannot be because of a lack of staff in abattoirs. Keeping the pigs on their farm costs hundreds of farmers dearly, and it is wiping out their potential profits. And around 40,000 pigs so far have had to be culled, which the creatures then even creates a further cost to farmers, as well as being waste of resources. This is a disaster for the pig industry and should have come to be avoided, according to her. The situation for the pig farmers is in a truly utter disgrace, you will say. This is down to the government's poorly designed change to the immigration policy, which I can only say appears is a total lack of understanding of how food production works and what it exactly needs. The Prime Minister Boris Johnson has angered many farmers last year when he appeared to make a joke at the crisis of the pig production, telling the BBC that pigs raised for food were destined to die anyway. This appeared to, of course, ignore the cost to farmers and the disasters and the distress of having to put down healthy animals for no purpose. George Dunn, the chief executive of the Tenant Farmers Association, has also called for more focus from ministers. In particular, the retention in the reform to post-Brexit subsidies, in which we'll see farmers paid public money for public goods through the replacement of the EU subsidies and environmental land management contracts, or the ELMs, whereby farmers are then paid for reaching certain environmental improvement goals. Dunn said, we need to see a bit more strategy from the government as to how these various policy strands fit together into a consistent whole. The ELMs is only one part of a panoply of incentives, including into support of new entrants to farming reliance, food policy, standards in trade, regulation and enforcement, and food supply chain measures, which at best continue to be developed just in silos. Currently, it feels like there are few threads being knitted together of a patchwork of incentives together. Farmers need to plan for the long term, and we want to be in line with public policy. However, until that becomes clear, we run the risk of lack of alignment. The NUF does warn the government to invest in British farming, to sell more homegrown food in the UK, and to help farmers export it, to ensure that farmers can get a fair deal with the supermarkets, which currently often use their market dominance to squeeze farmers' profit margins. To reform the immigration policy to allow more seasonal farm workers, and to reform farm subsidies in a way that encourages food production as well as meeting the environmental objectives. She will say, this is above and beyond everything. We need to be all working to the same objectives and aiming to the same outcomes. There needs to be a plan which enables Britain to keep on farming and to continue to be world leaders in high quality, safe and sustainable food. So, if anything, that is an incredibly powerful speech, and it just goes to show you the level to which the government has really failed on this front to even understand what farmers need in this case. And to be honest, they really don't care. This is yet another thing that ministers, and especially people in the Conservatives, just pay lip service to. And yet, we have seen in two recent by-elections that farmers completely turned on the Conservatives. And remember, that farming base is a core supporting base down in the blue wall. And if the Lib Dems go after those farmers, then it is very, very likely they will have a good chance of taking more of those seats down south, which, as I said before, could lead to the Tory nightmare scenario. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. Please do remember to hit that like, share, and the subscribe button if you are new to the channel. And of course, thank you to everyone who does support the channel down below by the Patreon page link, and of course, the one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, well, buy me a coffee. And as always, thank you very much to all those people who do support the channel that way. And as always, we'll see you all next time.